What's up, everybody? Jared Sandler here, welcoming you into the Just a Sec conversation. If you're new, this is your first time, welcome. Thanks so much for clicking on the link and getting this far. If you're a returner, welcome back. Really excited to share with you episode 39 with DFW's own Myles Turner. First, though, I want to remind you, subscribe, like, comment, share. I'd really appreciate it, whether it's this particular interview, this link, or just the channel, youtube.com/SandlerJ1. If you're already listening and you're on the link, it's easy to find. But I'd really appreciate it if you would share this content with your friends, family, whomever you think might be interested. All sorts of stuff on this channel, so feel free to explore, not just the Just a Sec conversation series. So I wanted to talk with Myles Turner because he's a developing, blossoming NBA star, and he's from right here. He's DFW's own, and then went to the University of Texas, and now plays for the Indiana Pacers. But the real reason beyond that, because we've got plenty of athletes who have come from DFW, plenty of athletes who played collegiately in the state of Texas. But it's Myles' story. Reading up on him, doing the research on Myles was so fun, but also challenging because I knew I didn't have 5 hours to talk with him. I had, a limited amount of time, and there's so much I was captivated by that I wanted to ask him about. I think at his core, if you heard the end of my conversation with Harlan Coben in episode 38, as I was outroing and previewing this episode, I talk about Myles' giving nature and his desire and ability and willingness to connect with people. It's not NBA star connects with non-NBA star. It's a person connecting with a person. He's got similar qualities in that regard to Josh Howard. If you had a chance to listen to my conversation with Josh Howard earlier in this series, I was just blown away by Myles Turner. I walked away thinking to myself, man, I not only do I want to root for this guy, but anything he does, I'd like to support him. So here you go, episode 39 of the Just a Sec conversation with Indiana Pacers big man Myles Turner. All right, Myles, I always like to lead with this. Take it whatever direction you'd like. When you think back to your childhood, what are some of the things that stand out most to you? Interests, experiences, people of influence. The floor is yours. Just the first things that kind of jump out to you.
Just about the state of Texas, or just in general?
Just growing up, wherever.
Well, really, I love my experience here in the state of Texas, man. I've obviously traveled quite a bit, traveled the world a little bit, traveled across the states, and there's no place like Texas. Growing up, I just remember just having the fond memories of really in the winter and the fall. That was my favorite time of the year, just to kind of be outside. And I was one of the kids. I just missed that generation of technology and everything. So I was one of the kids that was still, playing outside every day, just kind of being out and about. And my parents took a big happy role in making sure I had a great experience, a great childhood. So. Man, I had a lot of fun. My parents obviously are a huge influence in my life. I definitely have, some of my friends I grew up with that really shaped my own experience. But I love the state of Texas.
I think I read somewhere, Myles, that when you were 3, I don't know if it was your mom or both your parents, they wanted you to get a basketball hoop, but instead of one of those mini ones, they had it set at 10 feet. What do you remember about that? Just probably trying your hardest for a few years just to get it up to where it was even close to the rim.
Yeah, so my dad had wanted to give me a little tight hoop, and just to have me start working on that. I was only 2 or 3 years old probably, and my mom said, the hell with that, if we're going to do it, I should do the whole thing. So they got me an actual full-size 10-foot goal, and obviously a struggle for the longest time trying to get the ball up there, but I also had one of those little laundry baskets in my room, where you shoot your dirty clothes and whatnot, so I kind of just started there and progressed my way up.
One of the things, Myles, I think stands out, both your parents worked really hard, and your mom was in the hospitality industry, and I just finished reading a book about the hospitality industry. I imagine she has some pretty interesting stories from her experiences doing hotel stuff, but what did that, I guess at what point did you realize, hey, I got 2 parents who are busting their tail for me, and how did that impact you when you were old enough to kind of understand what they were doing and how it impacted you?
Well, the biggest thing my parents did was, we obviously weren't the most financially sound family, but you know. And I mean, we definitely weren't poor either, but my parents made it never made it feel like we didn't have or we were wanting for things. You know, they always try to do whatever it took to get us every one day, whether that was like a mini vacation. Like you said, my mom worked in the hospitality industry, so we would just drive like 30 minutes up the road to Frisco, Texas, and stay at like one of the hotels out there that was under her Starwood property. So that to us was like the best thing in the world. So they would try to do little things like that to kind of keep our minds off of, you know, what was really going on. And it didn't really hit me until I was about to leave for college. You know, it's a crazy story. Like I was supposed to go to the mail, but I was going to the mail one day. And then I had opened one of my dad's letters. It was actually a letter from the IRS or one of the auditing companies, and it's basically saying that. And I saw how much our family was in debt. Basically, I don't remember the exact number, but I saw how in debt we were, and it kind of that was like the trigger for me. Once I saw that, I was like, man, I gotta find a way to make it somehow, some way. I always just kind of played basketball for fun. I always just kind of did it just to, you know, just for the attention, and it was just fun to do for a little while. But, you know, once I got into college, I knew I had a chance to take it to a professional manner. So I just put all my eggs in one basket and rolled with it.
And it's obviously worked out in a big way. And there's so many really neat stories along the way. One that I read was you worked out with your dad. I don't know if you still do or you know, how long that lasted, but your dad was overweight and you guys worked out together. And you know, that I guess you don't hear that too often. What was that like, and how much fun was that for you to do something? I don't know if you enjoy working out or not. I know some people do, others do it because they need to. But to be able to share that with your dad, what was that like?
Yeah, no, at the time it sucked. I hated working out back then. You know, I was, you know, my dad. You know, it's funny because you know, I had a couple of my boys with me right now, and you know, my cousin, he's someone that used to come to my house all the time, and all my friends know, like, if you come over, it's cool. You can spend the night over Myles' house. You can have fun. But just know you're getting up in the morning and working out. So whatever I did, my friends had to do. And some of my friends weren't athletic at all. You know, they would just be just PE guys, everyday guys that kind of go to school, average Joes, but they would still have to do all my workouts per se. So with my dad, he really got me started working when I was 12 or 13 years old, like just a little bit harder. You know, I was a little overweight. I wasn't always, for most of my life, I've been skinny. I was a little overweight at the time. But he got me started to run every day. We would ride our bikes together. He would ride his bike to school with me every single morning. He would make me do abs every single night. We had a Bowflex machine. And he was on a weight loss journey as well. You know, he was tipping the scales at about 500 pounds. And he lost 165 pounds just in a matter of a year and a half, 2 years, just us consistently working out every day. And I got in shape as well. So, you know, obviously not, you know, we don't do the same workouts, you know, we used to do, or we're not really in a position to do some of the workouts that I do nowadays. But that experience definitely kind of shaped a little bit of my childhood because it produced a work ethic. Like, it made me lock in and focus into becoming something greater than what my friends were doing. You know, I was that kid who was always, you know, I never really stayed at school. I never was able to, you know, hang out at the mall or go to parties and all that kind of stuff. You know, my dad established that work ethic in me from a very young age, and it rolls over to this day.
And I know that as a family, you guys spend a lot of time in the car driving from this place to that place, and you know, this tournament or game, what have you. And I had the same experience with my dad, Myles. You know, I grew up in the DFW area, and my dad would drive me all over. He was the dad who, you know, as best as he could wouldn't miss a game, and whether it was, you know, a quiet car ride after I lost a sporting event, or you know, the good times, the bad times, that was really special for me. And I remember when I turned 16, I was fortunate to get a car, and it was cool. But I miss my dad driving me around. I'm curious, what are your memories or your thoughts when you think of that time when your family would spend all this time in the car going from place to place?
Yeah, man, it was good bonding time. It was really just us four. You know, I have a little sister as well. And, man, we've driven everywhere, bro. We've driven from Texas to Vegas, Texas to Florida, Texas to Minnesota, Texas to Virginia, like just countless drives, 15-hour plus drives. And, you know, amongst that time, it's just a great time for the family to kind of get together and just and bond in a little bit, you know. And I was a little asshole, man. I was like, you know, 15, 16 years old, going through puberty. Like, parents are annoying. Like, no one can tell me anything. So for the most part, I just had my headphones on. We kind of kept it pushing. But over time, I came to kind of appreciate the experience because my parents put literally everything to the side just to make sure I got to my tournaments. Like my dad's never missed a high school game. He worked a night shift from he probably went to work around 5 o'clock. I didn't see him, or I didn't really see him. He didn't get back home until 2 o'clock in the morning, but he would find his lunch break to come to all my high school games, whether we were playing in Irving, South Lake, Colleyville, Arlington, no matter. He found a way to get there from the airport. Never missed a high school game, man. That's it just speaks volumes to just a parent's love for a child. They did whatever it took for me to make it to this level. And yeah, those car trips definitely serve as a lot of fond memories for me.
Myles, I think, beyond the fact that you're having all this success as an NBA player, which certainly is awesome, I think for me, the coolest thing about Myles Turner is that Myles Turner is Myles Turner. You're so comfortable being you. You've got all these different interests. You love talking about it. You don't really care about what someone else might think, and that's tough. That's not. It's easy to say that, and I think a lot of people know that that's how you're supposed to live life. But it's tough to do that. How did you get to that point where you were just comfortable being you, and you didn't really care if someone judged you for this or judged you for that?
It's funny. I was literally just talking to my mom about this last night, man. It's just, once you get more money, more income comes in, people expect you to change, per se. The people always say you changed or you're different or you're this or you're that. And what I realized, man, is that me myself, I've never changed. I've had the same personality. I was a nerdy kid in high school, but at the same time, I got along with everybody because I had a whole bunch of different friend groups. I was friends on the nerds. I was friends on the jocks. I was friends with, the weird kids. I was friends with drama club. I had friends in every single friend group, so I was able to diversify at a very young age, and that has served well for me to this day. I'm able to kind of relate to a whole bunch of different demographics, and it's easy for me just to be myself at all times. And man, once you come into income, once you get more money, bro, it really, for me personally, it doesn't change me. The people around me change. Your quote unquote friends or people you thought you were friends are the ones that start to change. Their perception of you changes. They expect more from you, but lo and behold, you're still the same person that you were before the money. And that's one thing I can also appreciate, because there's plenty of situations where you hear, people get rich and they change. They switch up on the people they came up with. They switch up on their family members, and I've never been able to fathom the thought of doing that. I still have the same friends that, I started with, for the most part, and I'm just myself, man, at all costs. And another thing too, man, another thing about your personality is, once you start to change, people see right through you. You try to be something you're not, or try to claim you're from somewhere where you're not. People see right through that. You just look like a clown, man. I always tell people I'm from Bedford, Texas. You may not know where it's at, but I'll never claim to be from anywhere else. I claim the Dallas-Fort Worth area, but Bedford, Texas, is where I'm from. It's Mahinmi, it's where I grew up. The Herschel's Bedford area. So, yeah, man. I have no means to change, and there's no reason to.
And you seem like an incredibly curious person, just based on the fact that you've got all these different interests. And things I've read, you're still trying to learn about this or trying to learn about that. I think you recently, with stock market and investments and stuff. Where did that curiosity come from? Is that something you got from your parents? Is it something you developed at a young age? Where does that trace back to?
Well, I've always been a cerebral guy. I've always been into my studies and whatnot. And at the time, school was, it wasn't a choice. It's like my parents expected nothing but excellence when it came to my schooling, and it goes to the same thing with my sister. We couldn't bring any seeds in the house. We don't have any. We couldn't watch TV during the week. I couldn't play video games during the school year. The only time I loved playing video games at the summertime, or sneak to my friend's house and play it. We had a very solid upbringing and a lot of structure in our household, and I think that's kind of where it comes from. Even now today, I only spent 6 months in college. So it's not like I was able to learn stuff about the real world. The stuff they teach you, the curriculum in our schooling systems. You learn stuff, but you don't learn stuff about the real world until you get to actual college classes and stuff like that. And even then, you got to pay for it. So, man, I think now just trying to get into the stock market or just trying to learn about finances. I'm trying to learn about things that are tailored to my lifestyle. I'm trying to learn about more business, because I'm not going to shoot the basketball forever. I'm not going to be able to play in this league or generate this income for forever. I got about 10, maybe 15 years max of this. So, you got to look at stuff outside of your profession. And that's really where the curiosity came from. It's a time like this where I'm at the house all day, really don't have much to do. Eventually you get tired of playing video games and just watch TV. So I'm just trying to exercise my mind a little bit, just expand my knowledge, expand my way of thinking.
All right, Myles, I want to spend a little time talking about basketball, and I want to start with when you were 14, you fractured your tibia, I believe.
Mhm.
And I'm curious, how important was that as far as giving yourself some perspective on how much you really loved basketball? Because I think I read that you were maybe on the path to getting burnt out or having some hesitancy about whether you wanted to really commit. So what was
Uh,
that? What was that time period like? How important was that for you?
yeah, no, it was everything in my career because I was getting burnt out. My dad was just a basketball freak, basketball enthusiast, and I had been playing for four different teams at one time. And like I was, it was literally as soon as I get off from school, like, okay, we're gonna drive to Flower Mound. We gotta go to practice. And at the Flower Mound, we need to drive we gotta drive back home. We need to get this workout in. And the next day, it's okay. We gotta drive to Dallas and we get this next workout in. It got to the point where I was just over it. I wanted to be a normal kid and I wanted just to go to school with my friends, hang out, just be like the rest of the guys. But when I broke my ankle, it made me just take a step back. It was a forced break. It was a blessing in disguise because I realized how much that I missed the game and I realized how much I missed just competing and just being out there. So it just gave me some perspective more than anything. I wasn't ready to call it quits yet, and once I started coming back, and I put in so much work, man. Like you don't understand. Like I literally, my trainer Slim, Ken Roberson. He's a pretty touted trainer here in the Dallas Fort Worth area. He's pretty well known. He's trained a number of NBA guys. We work together every day, like 2 or 3 times a day. And Dad had me lifting in rides. I would go lift with him. We were shooting the chair, and like literally every single day for like 5 months. And I got stronger. My mental game got better, and I just developed a different mindset. And it was just, no looking back from there.
All right, now you go to Texas and then you spend a year there. I know you loved it in Austin, still love Austin, and you go to the Pacers. When you think of your rookie year to where you are now, what are some of the things you've learned about just being a relied upon guy? Not being not that there's anything wrong with this, but not being the 10th guy on the roster, but being a guy that the organization is counting on. How has your understanding of what that means evolved over the last few years?
Well, I think that the journey is different for everybody. Coming into my rookie year, I was told right away that listen, like you may not start during the year, but we're gonna need you. Like we need you to play. So once you get that confidence and someone, the president of the team tells you that, at the time it was Larry Bird. Once someone like Larry Bird tells you that, it's like, it changes your whole mindset. It's like, oh, well, shoot. I mean, I got the keys now. It's up to me what I'm going to do with it. So I think that when I was coming in, I think I had to work on more of my off-the-court stuff in a sense. And I've always, like I said, always been like a good kid and whatnot. But, I had to mature very quickly. I was 19 years old. I was still in college mode. Like I was still wanted to live the NBA lifestyle, but, still had to get my work in per se. So there was a lot of stuff that went into it. But once I kind of started to figure it out, it all worked out, perfectly. I had a great head coach my first year, Frank Vogel. He installed a lot of confidence in me. And he just told me, like, from the jump, man, every time you catch the ball, you got to shoot it. Every time defensively, you got to block everything. Once you have someone very supportive like that when you're 19 years old in your circle, it helps you out. I think I hear a lot of stories where guys come in this situations or rosters where the coach is a lot harder on them than they're supposed to be, or showing them tough love per se. And, it can really burn a guy out for someone who doesn't know what's going on or what lifestyle to get into. So I think I just came into a really good situation and was able to thrive in it. I didn't let the opportunity slip.
And I think I read that you give a lot of credit to Al Jefferson, I believe, and kind of helping you and
Yeah.
mentoring you. What sort of an impact did he have on you?
Yeah, so my first year I had it was Mahinmi and C.J. Myles. Those were like my two guys. And C.J. Myles, another, Dallas Fort Worth area. Skyline High School is a legend. Everybody knows about C.J.
Yeah.
And he was on my team, and he was the kind of a guy that I could talk to about real life stuff or the league stuff, and he would kind of lace me with information, Then Jan, he was the other big on the team, and he was the top dog at the time, so we kind of were able to, we obviously competed, but he kind of gave more insight. He was a guy who won a championship ring in San Antonio, a guy who's been in the league for a while. But yeah, once Big Al came along, he took, me under his wing, and he's just a cool dude, man. Like he did what he could on the court. He was an incredible offensive player, but he was obviously towards the end of his career when he came to the Pacers. But just as a mentor, just as like a life, someone who's just seen a lot in his life, who's able to kind of just bless me with a lot of knowledge.
Did you? I know growing up, in Bedford, I know you loved Dirk. Did you talk at all to Jan about his time with the Mavericks and winning a title with the Mavericks?
I said San Antonio. He won a title with them. I was thinking of George Hill. Yeah, he won a title with the Mavericks. That's what I meant to say. Good catch right there. No, but with as far as Jan's time with the Mavericks, we didn't have too much dialogue about it. But I do remember him seeing him in that championship series. He came in as a role player, provided a lot of energy, and I love that. I love those Mavericks teams, man. Those 2 years, it was the buzz around the city was different. It was just kind of cool to see the team come together and just. Really, when they won the championship, it was awesome, man. You had like little vendors on the side of the street selling T-shirts, and I wasn't used to seeing that. It was just especially in the Herschel Bedford area, we're so far, we're 30 minutes outside of Dallas. You don't see a whole bunch of that, but watching the way the city was able to ride together and come together around the team, and just going watching the finals with my dad, like it was just the dopest thing.
I know you grew up a fan of Dirk, and I imagine you've played against him, unless just some sort of bad luck. One of you's missed out on all the matchups before he retired, but have you talked to Dirk at all? Do you have any sort of a relationship with him?
We don't have much of like a personal relationship, but I actually used to work out at the Mavericks facility in the summertime when I played some pickup games over there. And yeah, me, I got to talk to him a little bit. I worked out with him a couple times, and that was kind of cool just to get that experience. It was his last year before he retired, so it was cool just to kind of be a part of that. I guess be a part of that camaraderie, man. It's somewhere where I grew up and the team I grew up watching, the guy, I watching as well. So just kind of being able to share the court with him was like the coolest thing to me.
All right, Myles, one of the coolest things that I have seen is Turner's block. And I don't know why more people don't know about this. I'm embarrassed that I didn't know about it until I read your Players Tribune article. Someone tipped me off towards that. For people who have no idea, can you share what Turner's block is and how did this idea come about?
Well, Turner's block itself is I like to call it an experience. I think it's a fun fan experience for people to come out and they're able to just let me start with the backstory. So Turner's block, it's a section in Bankers Life Fieldhouse. It's in the second row, in the second section, and it's about roughly 80 to possibly 100 people up there, and they're just on their feet the entire game. They heckle the other team when they're at the free throw line. Like they make the game so much more fun and maniacal. Like the atmosphere there is like a college atmosphere. And Turner's block, they're just my supporters and our team supporters. So what I do is I have auditions every single year. It's exactly what it sounds like. I give the people 10 to 15 seconds to come up and just act as crazy as possible. Literally, you can do whatever you want, like come up with whatever you want to do, but just act crazy. And I'm judging people on how crazy they are, per se. And those are the people that I want in my section. I want the crazy people in my section. So, the fans come out, they show in and show out every year. Once you're in Turner's block, you can't miss a game. Like I have people that travel from Illinois. I have people that travel, from South Bend, like 2-3 hours away just to make every single Pacers game. But once you're in the section, like it's your section. You got to take ownership in it. And what I do with it, I host, yearly block parties. Like people come together, and I have I have a charity that I run in India. It's called Warm. It stands for We All Really Matter. And what that does is it helps target the less fortunate and the homeless. What we do is we put these go bags together. Toothbrush, toothpaste, hand warmers, little spare change, like hand sanitizer, anything you can think of. You put it in a bag and you keep it in the back of your car, and then you pass them out. The people that may be in need, and they kind of help me put those together as well. So there's a lot of stuff I do with it, but the main purpose of it, obviously, is just it's to support throughout the game and to kind of let the opponents know that like you're in Bankers Life Fieldhouse now, like you're within the fire.
That's so cool, and you always see these sections, and there's a player's name that's maybe branded, but to have the type of hands-on impact on that's I think that's really cool, and obviously that's the right state too, because basketball in Indiana is such a huge deal. Myles, you're a captain, and gosh, it's crazy. At 21, you were the longest tenured pacer, which is highly unusual. But you seem like someone who would really embrace the idea of being the captain. What is having that sort of added responsibility mean to you, and what are some of your thoughts on the right way to go about leadership?
It's funny, man. I feel like I've always been thrust in a leadership role. I'm not sure if it's how I was raised or just seeing my parents be able to lead their respective groups at work. I've always been into a leadership role. When I was younger on my AAU teams, I was a team leader. High school, I was obviously a team leader. College, I was a freshman, but how that goes. But once I got into my third year, I was a team leader again, and I feel like it's just a role that I'm continuing to learn and continuing to get better at, but it's a thing where guys got to respect you per se. I think guys respect the way I work, guys respect the way I go about my business, and they're able to kind of fall in line. And being a leader is not easy. You want to, it's very easy being a sheep, being a follower. But being a leader, you have to be one that sets the example and the precedent day in and day out. People have to see the way you work. I think when people respond to leadership more visual than they do audible, like you tell someone to do something, it's okay. It's like, okay, well, what are you doing? They see you doing it, see you putting the work, see you putting the countless hours. It's easy to fall in line. So I just try to lead by example in everything I do, whether it's my friend group or whether it's my team or the community. Like, it's just the role that I've been placed into.
All right. So you signed, your first really big deal, and that obviously provides all sorts of opportunities, but fair or unfair, fans always seem to now view a player differently the minute they're getting paid a lot. And how did you deal with that responsibility and the the responsibility that comes with signing that contract, not only to the organization, but then just the public impact, especially as we live now in a world where so many people can reach you a lot easier with social media. What's the feeling like? I know it's an amazing accomplishment and feeling, but with some of the challenges that come with it, how have you dealt with that and learned to approach those challenges?
Well, everybody's a critic. I think that, the biggest thing with fans, man, is that, you have nothing but love. And, for fans that come out and support us and the ones that, are there for us day in and day out. They make home games that much more special. But you got to take everything fans say with a grain of salt, because one game, you're the best in the world. One day, they love you. You're on top of the world. And the very next game, they're talking trash about you. They're putting you down, kicking you while you're down. So it's a hard balance you have to live with, but it's also the price of fame. Once you're touching this lifestyle, you have to learn. You got to develop tough skin very quickly. The social media aspect is one thing that is huge. Obviously, social media has its benefits, but it's just a war zone, man. Just people just throwing comments out there about you, talking mess about your family, talking mess about, just anything. Your fans will find anything, even to push your buttons. But you just got to remain calm, cool, and collected. It's not easy. There's times where I've shot back at fans, or I've said things, made obscene gestures, whatever you want to call it. Like, it is what it is. But once you get into the league and you just kind of develop that tougher skin over time, it makes that much easier. I love the fans to death, but you just kind of got to take everything with a grain of salt.
All right, you mentioned Warm earlier. We all really matter. It's one tentacle of the great community work you do, and you strike me as someone. I've heard you talk on the radio in DFW before about some of the stuff you do. Some people, and not there's anything wrong with this, they have the resources, they attach their name to something, but they're not truly connected. And I don't get the sense that's your situation. This is stuff that you believe in, you care about. What are some of the things that you do? You already explained to us what Warm's all about, but what are some of the other things you do? And I guess how important has that been, and how enjoyable has it been for you in your career?
Yeah, I think it's BS when guys kind of, they'll have foundations or they'll have, benefits, but and they just throw money out there. Like, don't get me wrong, it's for a great cause, but I've always been on the interpersonal side of things. Like, I like to personally be involved with everything I do. I think that it speaks more genuinely to the fans. Two, when people see the impact you have with the platform that you have and you're giving back and you're just doing it out of the kindness of your heart, I think it strikes a little bit differently than just, attaching your name to something or just throwing money out there. Like, it's just, to me, it's just lifeless. So everything I do, like my basketball camps here in that I host every year, I haven't been able to host in the past 2 years. One this year because of the corona, last year because of Team USA. But I host those camps every year, and I'm in every single drill. I don't just sit in the stands and have a microphone. No, like I'm in the drills with the kids. I'm running around, I'm coaching, I'm blocking shots, I'm throwing stuff around. Like the kids love to see that. Kids love to see you like connected to it. They see you out there and thinking you're just one of them. It's like it gives them some kind of hope. Like, man, I can do this too one day, or oh man, he really cares about us, and I do. And I genuinely care about all the kids that come to my camp. There's a couple kids that, one of my kids just signed a scholarship, and like that's just like the coolest feeling in the world to me, to know that I might have had something to do with that, or might have had some kind of impact, in his basketball lifestyle. So that's one thing. As far as my charity ops and whatnot, I try to make sure it's known that nobody that nobody can come in and kind of like take my name off of it. Like I always am there. I always do interviews about it. I always tell people, that I'm super connected to like all my charity ops. So I don't want to keep beating a dead horse and get into it like that. But yes, I'm very connected to everything I do.
If you don't mind, what are, just for people listening, obviously Google's an incredibly powerful tool. I'm sure they could just search your name and find it. But what's the most direct way to see what you're doing and maybe get involved and help out in some way?
Can you say that one more time? I'm sorry.
Yeah, just what's the easiest way for people to find out what you're doing and get involved and maybe contribute to your various efforts?
Well, I think the biggest thing is I try to put them out on all my social media platforms, like anything that I'm doing or spreading awareness about certain things. Like I'll put them on my Instagram or my Twitter, or really my Facebook's another big one too. Like Facebook is like just a huge following per se. But no, I always throwing information out there, anything that has to do with me or anything that comes from me or MTX Morgan or my LLC. Like I put it out there on my social media platform. So yeah, that's really the best way. I mean, you can follow me on Instagram at Turner_Myles, and on Twitter at original_Turner, and Facebook is just my name.
All right, a few quick hitters, Myles, and then we'll let you go. Don't judge me for this. I've never seen Star Wars. I know you love Star Wars, but it's like the top of the list of things that I need to do. What's on the top of your list is something you want to try, you want to learn, something you'd like to do?
Top of my list, and I want to try to do. That is a good question, a quick hitter. I'd probably say I think I can see myself, like, I'm a big outdoors guy. I love being in, like you said, I was just in Wyoming. I love being in nature. I love being outdoors. I think it'd be kind of cool to, I don't know, do something like, what's something extravagant I've never done outdoors? So pretty much done everything.
Jumped out of a plane?
I wouldn't. I'm not a risk taker like that. I don't know why.
Me neither, man.
Playing with their lives like that. No, I'm not jumping off and jumping out any plane, jumping a little cliff. I'm not into all that kind of stuff. I guess I could learn to. Like fly fish. I know how to fish, but fly fishing is something that'd be kind of cool. I mean, I don't know. I just gotta just something different.
All right, you love Legos. Do you have a Lego structure you've built that you're most proud of?
Yeah, I built a Death Star. That was about, that was roughly 5,000 pieces. And it took a lot of time, a lot of patience, a lot of very meticulous little, like blocks and stuff that you had to put together. Like it's different from all the other Star Wars sets. So that one's one I'm probably most particularly proud of.
All right, I know you like traveling. Next place you've got to go that you've not been.
Oh, I want to go to Greece. I've always wanted to go to Greece, like Mykonos or, I don't know, Athens. I've always heard that Greece is kind of a dope spot, so I kind of want to check that place out.
All right, last one. Favorite block in your career?
Oh, wow. Favorite block in my career? It had to be the block on LeBron. I mean, that was like in my rookie year. It was kind of like a welcoming moment. Like people kind of heard my name, like knew my name after that. So that was probably like the most, that was probably my favorite block. Yeah.
I mean, let's be real. Who wouldn't want to block the king, LeBron James? Well, there you go. That's my conversation with Myles Turner. I really, really hope you enjoyed that, man. What an awesome young person who, there's no doubt, is capable of doing big things on the court, but is someone who is capable and so willing, it seems like, to have an impact beyond that. And that story of his own fan section and how involved he is, that was really cool. So I hope you enjoyed that conversation. Reminder, if you enjoyed it, you want to share it with friends, you can share the link, subscribe, like, spread the word. I'd really, really appreciate your help in getting this stuff out there. Next week, we'll release 2 more episodes, starting with Jason Walsh. Who's Jason Walsh? Well, if you're from the Metroplex and you watch the Mavs or the Stars or the Rangers or any number of other events programming on Fox Sports Southwest, then you probably should know who Jason Walsh is, because he basically runs the show. He's the executive producer, but has a strong background with the Dallas Stars. He's been a part of so much, so many great stories, so many big decisions, and it was great getting a chance to chat with Jason about his career and his experiences. So that is going to be our next Just a Sec conversation, released next week. Plus, after that, we'll talk with Sarah Perlman from NBC, who is getting really involved in the gambling craze that seems to only be growing. So that's the Just a Sec conversation for today, plus what's coming up. Thanks so much for enjoying. We'll talk soon.